Alright, so after all the reviews of the Drenai Saga I've done, you've heard me mention quite a few times Hero in the Shadows. And I fear that I've pretty much given away, I might have given away quite a few points of the book throughout the other reviews, but really, when I go on and talk about this book, like, as far as it just being like, just another standard story in there, but so much more, it doesn't really define how much I actually enjoy this book. And I don't mean to come off sounding obsessed with it, but just after so much, while I do think Gemmell's writing is good, as the style is straight and to the point, I don't know what exactly it was that inspired him to actually go so much more into character depth with this one, but this is just great. Let me touch upon the story before I get into that and talk about some of the characters first. This is the third and final Waylander book in the series. It's also the ninth book, as it kind of sets up the tone for how the latter two books of the series are written. It's been, probably 15-20 years since the events of Waylander 2. Dacryus has disappeared, gone off, made a name for himself as the Gray Man, an unknown gentleman who, to a bunch of nobles, has moved in upon the shores of Quan Hador. And he's trying to start a new life over by just getting away from him, and he's actually kind of moved up in the world in a sense, but he's not really so much into the eccentricities of being rich. He's just trying to make a quiet life for himself. The book actually opens up with a young woman named Kiva Taliena who has been kidnapped, along with a few other girls after a raid on her village. She's actually kept alive for the purpose of rape, and while she's actually being assaulted by the leader, she warns that the Gray Man, who is a mysterious figure of legend within their group, will come to kill him for what he's done. And this actually causes the leader to have a seed of doubt planted in him and one of fear. And eventually there is signs that several of his men are disappearing, and eventually it's revealed that a man who favors a crossbow weapon has been killing off his men, and is actually revealed to be Waylander later on, who rescues Kiva from her captors. She's taken to his palace and actually given employment as a servant, and she goes on to have a major role later on in the book. Waylander has actually tried to get away so much from all the pain and the death. He figures that if he's just by himself and surrounds himself by folks that he doesn't know, that maybe everything will not be so bad. But that's not the case, because he's tried so hard ever since he's gotten that bit of humanity back to him to get away from the person that he's become. But there's always something to drive him back into killing, and they don't know if it's just he doesn't know if it's just some part of himself that wants to prove that he can still do what it was that he used to do so well, even though it was a terrible thing. The thing that really strikes out as a major point is that Waylander actually looks to be in his early to mid 70s in this book, when he's actually far older than that. What this was revealed to actually be was that when he was healed by Kai, the one-eyed creature from the first Waylander novel, that magical power actually has some kind of change over him. He doesn't get sick, and that he's actually able to move quite more agile even in his age, but ultimately time does catch up with him, and he's starting to weaken quite a bit more than what he had beforehand. Now, while Waylander is waiting, he actually has an old friend who was a merchant from the second book named Matsi Kai to come and handle some investments, because ultimately he just wants to get away from everything, because he's just become so disgusted by the people around him. The noblemen that he surrounds himself with are actually constantly at war with each other just trying to amass everybody else's fortune and not being satisfied enough with what they have. And he's become completely disgusted with it. And he's actually used his money quite well. He's known as a favored nobleman by a lot of people because he'll go and pull his money into like hospitals and source temples and stuff like that, and that's actually earned him the enmity of a lot of the other nobles. And there's even a couple of assassination attempts on him by some young nobles in order to kill him and take over his fortunes. Other characters in this, while I'm continuing on with the story, we're also introduced to a wandering samurai, so to speak, who's actually called a Rajni by the name of Kaisumu, who is traveling with Matsukai, and he's actually come to this land because of a feeling that he's had that he's been called here in order to do something. And along the way, he picks up another young Rajni protege by the name of Yu Liang. Excuse me. While Kaisumu struggles to hold on to the old ways of his people, Yu Liang, on the other hand, is actually completely debaucherous and a bit of a goof, so to speak. And ultimately what they're drawn into doing towards the end of the story, because they're needed in order to stop a major thing that a villain has got going that would lead an army out through a portal that would eventually attempt to go on and conquer the land in which they're in. We also have introduced in this story the priestess Ustarte. Ustarte and a few of her acolytes come from another world. It is revealed that she's come to stop a sorcerer from activating a portal which would release a whole bunch of demons out into the land, and they've already seen quite a few signs of demons coming about. They have that to contend with. They also have the sorcerer Eldakar Manishun that they have to fight, who is actually the right-hand man of a higher power named Daresh Karni, who is attempting to summon these demons into the land and return and conquer it. And there's a little interesting character dynamic with him that they kind of show that he's not exactly the bad guy that they make him out to be, but his reasons for doing everything kind of are self-preservation, because that he holds to the belief that he's doing what is right for his people, even though he knows that it's entirely wrong. And just watching these characters grow, because you get to see the transitions they go through. Ustarte, because of a secret that she has, and Kaisumu, as he struggles to be the best Rajni that he can be. And both these characters, along with Waylander, have extremely powerful moments that transition their lives. Like, things work out in the way that these characters and the reader himself will not see coming. And this is really just a gold mine of enriched characters and action and great storytelling. Forget the fact that this could sit in the Drenai Saga. It could very well stand as its own story, as you see people struggling for redemption. And it's not just the common black and white characters that are told in this. There are shades of gray in between that actually I found myself relating to on quite a bit, and I think pretty much any other reader would, just forgetting the fact that this is a fantasy set story. Anything else I could add to this? If you've read this already, you kind of understand what I'm getting at, and I think you could very well understand why I have such enthusiasm in my voice when I talk about this story. If you haven't read this, if there is nothing in the Drenai Saga, besides Legend you touch, damn sure pick up this book, because it actually recaps events in the story, and you could be a first-time reader to it and still understand what's going on. There is a plus side to this as well, because when I was talking in the Winter Warriors review about the history of the demonic race within the story, plus which also brings in an appearance from Anharat towards the end of the story, as this takes place like centuries before Winter Warriors does. more information on the Battle of the Three Kings is given. A lot more information on how magic functions in the world and how it was granted out to different people who could perform joinings. And and speaking of joinings, the were animals are also in this story, not quite in the sense that you would expect, but they still play a huge pivotal role in this. Anything else I could add to it, I really don't know what to say other than to just read this book, because it's really a great piece of literature.